Hello, everybody. Welcome to Learn with Mr. Lewis. I am, of course, Mr. Lewis, and I'm here to share with you my January 2025 income report on Teachers Pay Teachers. Just a little bit about me. I am a social studies teacher in Arizona. I have been teaching for 24 years now, almost the end of my 24th year. Kind of scary. That means not too many more years before I can start thinking about retirement, which is crazy. But anyway, there it is. I've been teaching at a public school here in Arizona. I'm a middle school teacher, and I love it. I do. I know that's crazy, but I do. As I'm sure most of you do as well who are watching. That's why we get into this, right? Anyway, so this is also my 18th full month on TPT. I started my store in earnest back in July of 2023. That's when about middle of July is when I started really putting products up and all of that. So anyway, so you can also view previous income reports from previous months there on my channel. I've got some links in the description, all of that. So, okay, well, let's talk about this. So January, so far, now that I'm into where I can compare to last year, right? So I could compare August of 2024 to August of 2023 and all of that all the way up through to now. And so far I've really done better every single month, which has been, exciting and also, I guess, in a sense, relieving, you could say, because it's always nice to see improvement. And so I'm glad to see that has happened. And January was another month like that. And I'll get you the details on that in just a little bit. But let me give you some specifics. My followers increased. I went from 120, or I went up to 120 followers. So that's up 11 from where I was before. I got 6 more reviews. Reviews are always awesome. That's what really helps, I think, people decide to buy your product, is when they see a good review on it. And I currently have 131 products, so I haven't been adding a lot of products, a little bit here and there. I'm hoping in the next months I'll be able to get a few more, especially over the summer. Is a great time for me, at least, to really add stuff. So let's jump right into those numbers. So this is a new-ish feature on TPT. I probably say that every month, and so now maybe it's not new, but it still feels a little bit new because it wasn't there when I started, and that's the store rank. So this comes out about the 5th of the next month, so the January store rank would come out around February 5th and so on. And since I'm making this video a little later into February than I had wanted, I know this is going to surprise a lot of you, but as a teacher, sometimes I get busy. And I have things that I have to do that have to take priority over making this income report. I know, it's hurtful, but that's just the way that it is. So anyway, grading stuff. I just graded a whole stack of projects about the Industrial Revolution. That was nice to get through those. It's a good feeling when you finish those. And I've only had 2 complainers so far that have come and complained about their grade, and one of them was absolutely legitimate, so I made an adjustment. The other one, not so much. But there you go. Okay. So once again, back to store rank. So store rank, it tells you where you fit amongst all the stores that sold at least one item that month. So it's not comparing you to all the stores that are up there like mine was, because I actually made my store several years ago, but I never sold anything, basically, because I'd never really committed to doing much with it. I had a couple of not very good products in there, and big surprise, they didn't sell. So I did have a store up for a long time before July of 2023, but it's July of 2023 that I really committed to it. So anyway, there are a lot of stores like mine was for a few years where it really just didn't even do anything. It's not comparing them to those. It's comparing you to all the stores that actually sold during that month. And this is something that I was really happy about when I look back at December. So that's what I'm telling you about first, is my December ranking. So that was December of 2024. I came in at number 4,482, which was good enough for the 95th percentile. That means that there's plenty of room still to grow, which is exciting. But at the same time, I had a really satisfying month in December. So it's nice to also see that that's reflected in that ranking. January, there was some improvement, some pretty significant improvement from my ranking in December. My January ranking came in at 2,000. I can't even read. My eyes are bad. That's a whole other story. 2,980. And so that was good enough for 97th percentile. So some improvement in my store rank from December to January. So that's pretty cool. All right, so let's take a look at views. So the monthly views, as you can see here on the chart, are actually down a little bit from last year. I don't really know, and maybe somebody can give us something in the comments on this that knows more about this than I do. But I think that when you go to your own store, that oftentimes it counts that as a view. Now, I'm not totally sure on that, or whether it's every time, or how much it counts yourself. And so I tend to think that maybe some of the reason why the views were higher in January 2024 compared to this past January 2025 is that I was working really hard on my store January of last year. Like, I was adding products. I was trying to get my Today in History warm-ups, like the second semester's worth, out as far as I could, because I was building this product as the year went along last year. And so I was in that store constantly and opening those pages and uploading stuff and all of that. And so I wonder if some of those views are actually from that. I don't totally know if that's true, but like I said, maybe there's somebody out there who knows a little bit more about how TPT counts views in the stores, and whether it only counts me viewing it once for the whole month, or if it counts every single time I go into it. I don't know, but I tend to think that some of that is that. But you can see that my numbers were down a little bit, still good, still around 1,200 views, and last year it was just a little bit over 1,200, and then this year, like I said, just a little under 1,200. Now, this is above my average, because on average in my store, I'm getting about 892 views per month if I go all the way back to the beginning and take the average. Right? Is that, Mrs. Lewis? It's from the very beginning, that average? My first full month, which would have been August of 2023. Thanks, Mrs. Lewis. She's the brains behind much of this operation, especially the video part of it. All right, so let's look at units sold. So units sold was a higher number than last year, as you can see. And one of the things to notice here, which I think is interesting, is, well, I'll do it more on the next page, maybe. Forget that I even started saying something interesting to notice. We'll notice it on the next page. But anyway, so I had 197 views this year compared to last year, 163 views. Units sold, not views. We just did views. It's units sold. So I sold 197 units January of 2025, where in 2024 it was just 163. So that's a pretty solid increase in the number of units sold. And my average is 131 since the start of my first full month on TPT. Okay, so conversion rate. Now, for those of you that don't know what this is, the conversion rate is important because it tells you how many times when a person goes into one of your products, do they actually end up buying that product. So this kind of tells you, I don't know if I know everything that it tells you, but one of the things that it tells me is whether my product, based on the thumbnail and that, and then once they get into it and look at it in more detail, if it's matching that. So I think that that's an important thing, and whether they see value in that. A lot of times, as I have mentioned in the past, having good reviews can make all the difference, I think, on this. But anyway, so the conversion rate. So my conversion rate was up a little bit from last year. I was at a 16%, which is, I'm really happy with that. I think anytime, if you can be in double digits on a conversion rate, you're killing it. And not that single digits is that would necessarily be bad, but I think anytime you can find yourself in the double digits, that's something to absolutely celebrate. So 16%. Was my conversion rate compared to last year, 13%. And this is right there along with my average. My average has been about 14% from the beginning of my first full month back in 2023. Okay, now's the big one, the big reveal on the earnings, okay? And like I said, I was really happy with January. And as you can see, This was a spectacularly great month. I doubled what I did last year. I came in at $1,176, which is well above the $549 that I made last year. I always think it's interesting too, on all of these charts, this is what I was getting at before, how much my day seems to follow last year. So one of the cool things I like about these charts is that it doesn't give you, January 1st to January 31st of 2024 in the comparison that you see there, but it compares you to the same weekday. And so looking at that same weekday, you'll see, so it's Monday to Monday. And so in this case, it was January 3rd to February 2nd. And it is interesting how much the trends seem to follow. As I look at January, it doesn't seem to quite as much as I've seen in some of the other months, but it still does. And it is kind of interesting that you tend to sell on some of the same days and the same parts, parts of the month, beginning versus end of the month versus middle of the month, that sort of thing. But anyway, it was an absolutely great month. Like my goal for this year was just to try to do a little better than I did last year. And so to have so many months where I have well exceeded that has just been just a blessing. That was my dog, by the way, who made the camera wobble. So if you got a little dizzy watching it, one of the dogs decided to go and just tap the tripod. So thank you for that, Zoe. Zoe, did you want to say hi? Come here. Let's say hi. All right, so this is Zoe. You want to say hi? Okay. So a couple of things. So I had 2 days only during January with no sales, so that was awesome. Anytime you get a sale, even if it's one of those little $1 sales, she's already done. Even if it's just a little $1, I have some items in my store. I think the lowest priced item I have is $1.29. Even you sell one of those and you make $1 off of it, hey, it's better than nothing. So, and that is one little piece of advice I would probably give you, is to try to have a nice variety. Some of those really low ticket items that can give you some more volume in your sales. And then of course those big ticket items are great because you sell one of those in a day. It's a great day. So I think it's good to have a nice balance there. And I've found that, at least for myself. That may not be true for everybody. So my highest earning day was like the best single day I've ever had on TPT. Is that right, Mrs. Lewis? 184.25. That was January 6th, right? Yes, that's what it looks like on the chart. Yeah. So anyway, wow. Like, I know probably some of you watching this are like, 184, I'd be disappointed with 184. But where I am in my store, 184 is absolutely unbelievable. And so I am beyond thrilled with that. The goal now is to try to break that at some point, right? And hopefully it won't be like next January 6th before I break it. Hopefully I can beat it sometime before then. We'll see. So I did have 9 of those $50 days, and the $50 day is a real like kind of measuring stick. The Angry Teacher is the one that sort of tipped me off, if you know who that is. He's another TPT seller that you can watch his stuff. And anyway, he's like the one that kind of has pushed this $50 day thing as being a big deal, and it really is. Whenever I have a $50 day, I'll either text Mrs. Lewis as soon as it happens, or she'll text me, and we're like, yeah, $50 day. So those are great. Any $50 day is awesome, and I had 9 of those in January. My lowest earning day was $3.19, which is unusual because usually my lowest earning day is like $1.04. That's a pretty typical. It sold one of your really low ticket items. I don't have a lot at $1.29. I have more at $1.49, and I think a lot of times it ends up being $1.04 for me earned on that. But anyway, so there it is. $3.19 was my lowest. All right, so let's take a look now at total earnings. So going all the way back. And this goes all the way back to when the store started. As you can see, just a shade under 11,000 is how much I've made so far in these 18 months and change on TPT, and could not be more thrilled with that. So you can see August of last year was like the hello month, hoping for more of that in the future. So looking forward to August in that way. Not as much looking forward to it because school is starting. Not that I don't like going back to work, but as I'm sure all of you do, summer's nice. I like summer. So anyway, Yeah, so there it is. But it does give me something more to look forward to in August, and to hope that things can be even better next year. That would be awesome. So let's take a look now. This is a chart that Mrs. Lewis made that helps you see how my store has done over time, and including comparing this year to last year, which is kind of cool to be able to see that comparison. And as you can see, every month I have exceeded what I did last year, and a lot of them I've like doubled or more what I did last year. So that's absolutely just thrilling to me. And the hope, of course, is that February I can continue that trend and on through the rest of the year. I will, as you can see there, the second half of the school year was weaker for me. My first full year, the second half of the 23-24 school year was not as good as the first half, and that doesn't surprise me because my big selling products are those Today in History warm-ups. And I think most people, and that's not true of everybody, but most people try to start the year with a new thing like that, or maybe the semester with a new thing like that. And I think that's why August, September, and then January tend to be really good months for me when it comes to that. But anyway, I don't know. That's my thought. So, yeah. Let's look now at some reviews. I got some really great reviews. Like I told you earlier, I got 6 total reviews. And it's just a good reminder to everyone, when you use a product on TPT to review it, I think that's super helpful. I think asking questions is helpful as well to clarify things either before or after you purchase the product. I had a product that I bought a year ago on TPT, a World War I product, that there was a typo in it, and so I messaged the seller, and the seller fixed it, and that was awesome. Like, that's exactly what you would want, and I got a new version that didn't have that typo. And so things like that I think are helpful, that can not only make the product better for you when you purchase it, but also help the seller to improve their own product. Anyway, so yeah, reviews are great. You do get a tiny little bit of store credit for each review too. So, every little bit helps, and that helps you to save a little bit of money on your next purchase just by reviewing. Anyway, so let's take a look at a couple of these. So one of them is on my Food That Built America video guides. If you haven't watched that series, you can see it on Netflix or Hulu. Where is it on? Hulu. I think it's Hulu. Yes, Hulu. It's on Hulu. Anyway, great series, a lot of fun. I use it, especially it's good, I think, for some economic stuff. When we talk social studies, I have used them from time to time. I get severe migraines, and there are just some days where I just have to completely change course on my lesson plan. And so there have been some times where I've thrown one of these videos on, and my kids always like them. And so it's nice to have a guide to go with it that helps to keep them focused when I'm in the corner in agony, right? So anyway, but I got a really nice review from somebody who is says, this is from Sarah S. She says, by the way, saying Sarah S. makes me think of Severance, where it's just, first name and initial, for you Severance fans out there. Anyway, so it's a 5-star review, extremely satisfied, and it says great link between American history and culinary arts. And that's cool. And I've had some others that have purchased this that have talked about being culinary arts teachers and how this has helped them in their class. So beyond just, my realm of social studies. So I think that's cool. Anyway, and my next review is from Jenna S., another Severance-esque name. Anyway, another 5-star review, extremely satisfied. This is on my full year bundle of my Today in History warm-ups, and she says, loved the song playlist that went with this activity, super easy to use, great slides, and gave a huge opportunity for discussion. However, can really use a lot of class time if you are not mindful. And boy, ain't that the truth. Like, I love these warm-ups, and I've been using them for years, and that's what made me think that it would be something I would want to share here on TPT. I was sharing it with my colleagues at my school, all the social studies teachers in my department. We all use these warm-ups now. And so I knew they were good before I put them on TPT. And anyway, I know that people have really enjoyed them, but it is true. Like, you have to be careful. Like, there are times where a kid asks a question about one of those items on that that happened on this day in history, and I'm telling you, it can turn into a long discussion, which isn't bad, but you do have to be careful. And there are some days where I know that what we're doing is such a tight schedule that all I can give them is like the 5 or 6 minutes to do the warm up, and we don't do any discussion on it. Even though some of them want to share or want to ask questions, I'm like, can't do it today. We just have to get right into what we're doing, or we will run out of time on what we have planned. And then there are other days where I'm able to have some flexibility and go ahead and spend some time talking about them. So anyway, what I do want to say is thank you to Jenna S. and to Sarah S. for your reviews. I truly appreciate it. I'm truly humbled by the positive reception that my products have been getting in the store, and I'm glad that they're helping. And I guess that's one thing with TPT, and it's something that I've pondered a lot about pricing. And I've had some people that have suggested to me that I should raise my prices, and I've had some conversations with Mrs. Lewis about it, and I'm a little leery for two reasons. One of them is just the fear that if you price it too high, then you'll lose so many sales that it actually won't be worth it. The second thing is, I do feel like, and maybe, I don't know, this is a cheesy thing to say, but I do feel like some of what is great about TPT and what I appreciate about it, and part of the reason that I'm doing this, I mean, obviously I love to be able to make some extra money. That's so great, and especially as a teacher to be able to do that. But I do believe that some of it is, it's an opportunity to share something that you have that is good beyond just your normal scope, right? Your normal sphere of influence. So already, the teachers, the social studies teachers at my school appreciate this product, and I have put a lot of work into it, like so much work that for someone else to try to do this from scratch, it would just be crazy, right? Looking back, when I started, I didn't expect I would spend this much time on it, but it just kept growing and growing and growing over the years. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is it's an opportunity to do something positive for other teachers, and an opportunity to provide them with something of value for what I see as being a nominal fee. Like, I don't want it to cost a crazy amount of money, partly because, again, I'm scared that it would hurt my bottom line, but maybe more so, I want it to be available to people at a reasonable price. And that doesn't mean I wouldn't ever raise the price a little bit here or there, but anyway, something to think about. Like, I think there's a fine line between balancing trying to maximize how much money you're making, which is important, but at the same time also making sure that what you're creating is accessible to the everyday teacher. So anyway, just my 2 bits there. So anyway, that was January. I guess hoping that there will be more of the same and more improvement, and plans for next month, like I said, just to keep going with it. I'd love also to hear from you how January was for you, and I guess February so far, but there will be a February income report, hopefully in like a week or two, not in a month. I'm a little late getting this out later than I would have wanted. There's an email list of mine that you can join. You'll see a link for that in the description. Also, I have Today in History videos that I put out. I've been doing them basically every day, but I'm going to start to shift to doing them not quite every day. It's just, it's overwhelming me a little bit with the amount of work, and the fact that I'm trying to make them better means that they're taking longer, and so I've decided to scale back a little bit and not do them every single day going forward. But I do have these Today in History videos that I think you'll find interesting if you're a social studies person. And so you can go ahead and watch those on my channel as well. And again, the income report hopefully coming out in a couple of weeks, not a month from now. And also, please always be sure to like and subscribe. And thanks so much for your time. I know it's precious, and I appreciate you watching this video, and thanks.